This is Fletch. Today I'm going to show you how to use multitimbral instruments in Logic Pro X. A multitimbral instrument is one in which you can open multiple presets which are then controlled on different MIDI channels. Let's start by creating a multitimbral instrument in Logic. I will create a software instrument track, check the multitimbral box, and choose Contact 5 as my instrument choice. Native Instruments Contact is the most common format for sample libraries, and it is multitimbral. I'm going to choose multi-output 16 by stereo so that I have routing options for each patch I load in Contact. Contact opens up since I selected it as the instrument, and I will load some sounds in. Since I selected 8 parts, Logic has created 8 tracks for the instruments, but for the sake of load time, I will just choose 3 sounds for my demonstration. You can see by looking at the MIDI channel for each patch that Contact loaded them on ascending sequential MIDI channels, 1, 2, 3, etc. Let's take a look at Logic's Arrange page. There are 8 tracks on the page for instrument 1, and you can see the MIDI channel numbers listed to the right of the track name, going from 1 to 8. If I play notes from my MIDI controller on each of the first 3 tracks, you hear the sound that was loaded in that MIDI channel. A multitimbral instrument can have up to 16 patches loaded into the instrument, each on a separate MIDI channel, but they share a single channel strip. For this reason, the volume fader, pan knob, and any sends or inserts effects for the instrument will affect all the sounds within Contact. If I need to change the volume or panning of a sound, I need to use MIDI to change those parameters. Before I start recording, I need to check a preference in my project since I want the MIDI faders for volume and panning to affect each track separately. This is found by going to the File menu, choosing Project Settings, MIDI, and making sure that this box is unchecked. I recommend doing this with all your sessions. If I record a part and want to change the volume via MIDI, I can record the movements of a MIDI fader that is set to volume while playing a note, or I can draw it in the piano roll. I'm going to record a part here and then fade out the volume using my MIDI fader. When I open the piano roll, I can display the MIDI data by clicking on the MIDI Draw button. Here it is displaying the volume data. I can edit what I have recorded or draw in new values. This allows me to control the patch's volume, and since each part is on a different MIDI channel, I can do this on each track of the instrument. There are some cases where I would like to have more control over a sound within the Contact instrument, and in those situations, I will bus their outputs to an auxiliary track. In Contact, I can change the output of each patch. The output is displayed right above the MIDI channel. Native Instruments has included a useful batch function that sets an individual channel for each loaded instrument. Now when we look at the patch's outputs, they are named for the instrument and are routed to virtual outputs in Contact. When I bring up Logic's mixer, you can see there is a plus sign above the solo button on instrument 1. This appears because when I chose Contact, I selected multi-output, so Logic recognizes that I have the option of changing the output of the patch in Contact. The instrument on MIDI channel 1 will remain on the Logic instrument's main outputs. When I click on the plus, Logic creates an auxiliary track for the patch on MIDI channel 2. If I click on it again, it creates an auxiliary track for the next patch on channel 3. Now I have a volume fader for each sound and the ability to add insert effects and sends if I wish to do so. I can add an EQ, compressor, or delay, or any other effect to each aux track individually. I typically load similar types of instruments within each Contact instrument I use. Strings, brass, winds, synths, percussion will all have separate instances. This is because an overall EQ setting or reverb send level is more likely to work on sounds that have similar tonal qualities, and since each instance of Contact is on its own channel strip, those settings will be applied globally to all the patches within the instance. However, I still have the flexibility of sending the output of any patch to an aux track should I need greater control in the mix. This concludes this video on using multi-timbral instruments within Logic Pro X. I think you will find this method gives you a lot of control and flexibility in your music creation and mix workflow.